Welcome to Barnstorming America, where each week we explore a community of people working together to preserve the great American tradition of self-sufficiency. I'm your host, Fiona Willis, and this week we barnstorm Mumford, New York!
Mumford, New York, just a 30-minute drive southwest of Rochester in western New York. Nestled on beautiful, pristine Oatka Creek, its namesake Oatka Trail winds through Mumford in the town of Wheatland. Many residents here are professionals who have chosen to make their homes in this peaceful rural setting where they can enjoy a small farm lifestyle when they leave the office for the day.
We're heading down Oatka Trail in Mumford, New York, and what we're going to do today is stop in, visit some neighbors, and find out what they're doing, what their hobbies and their passions are, and the things that they're doing to make their lives richer and their community a more vital place to live. So it's going to be a great day. And then tonight, we're going to basically celebrate the fruits of their labor by sharing a meal together.
First up, we'll meet Dan Swidlachik. His job as an accountant pays his bills, but hobby farming feeds his passion.
Hey Dan, nice to see you.
You too?
Who is this?
This is Barry.
Hi Barry, you're beautiful.
Thanks.
So and speaking of beautiful, you really do have a beautiful property out here. And so you raise horses. I saw a couple quarter horses as well.
Yep, we got a couple down at the end of the pasture.
And then some cows.
Yep, we've got 3 beef steers that we raise for beef.
Okay, so you have 4 kids and your wife. That is a lot of meat. 3 beef cows for one family?
Yes, no, we keep one of them for ourselves and the other 2 we give to friends who basically, you know, it's pasture fed, grass raised, hormone antibiotic free beef. So.
Oh, okay, so it's other people who are concerned about where the food's coming from.
Exactly.
So that's terrific. And I hear some chickens clucking around here as well.
Yes, we've got a flock of layer chickens and we also have, well, we raise 40 meat birds. Speaking of chickens, our friend Cassandra from down the street, she just got a few chickens and she's got some questions for me.
Oh, good.
Hey Cassandra, how are you?
Hey Dan, how are you?
Good,
Hey,
good.
Cassandra, I'm Fiona.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So you're new to the chicken raising world?
We are. We have 4 chickens. We got them as chicks back in April, and so they've just started laying. And I'll find eggs in the middle of the driveway and sometimes up in the hay mouse. So I was hoping Dan could give me some hints as to raising
hard to
chickens.
make an omelet if you can't find the eggs, right? So that's what neighbors are for. So can we head on into the barn?
Yep, let's go on in.
This is a great old barn.
Yeah, we were told when we bought the place that it was about 150 years old. So.
Here's a chicken coop.
Yep, come on and meet the girls.
Hi,
Cassandra.
girls. How are you?
Wow.
They are just beautiful. There's so many different types.
Yeah, the kids keep them as pets. So every
Oh, they
spring,
do?
every spring we'll buy 5 to 10 of them and they raise them and whatever kind we get, we get.
So Cassandra, tell me why, I know you run a dairy farm, but why did you decide to start raising chickens?
We decided mainly because we wanted to know where our food was coming from.
Okay.
We eat quite a few eggs, so we got layer chickens.
Okay, and these are layers too, right, Dan?
Yep.
And you do meat birds, but you do those separately,
Yeah,
right?
that's a different type of chicken and we keep them separate.
And you don't
Okay.
name those ones, I guess?
No, we don't. Kids don't give those ones names. They're not around long
Now,
enough.
I'm pretty new at this, and are there any tips you can offer me?
There's a few key things that we've noticed. You want to have plenty of ventilation. So we've got a window here. We open it up during the day a lot of times. Shut it at night to keep the predators off. A roost. You want to have a place where they can get off the ground at night. They feel a lot more secure, where they can sleep.
Okay.
We've got plenty of space. We just found some old tree branches.
And is the straw for warmth during the winter? Do you use it during the summer as well?
We put the shavings down. They really absorb stuff better. The straw, in the summertime, they just scratch around and they pull a little bit of the oats out of the straw. And in the wintertime, it does help keep the place a lot warmer.
Okay.
What about the food being off the ground?
Well, this is just because I'm lazy. I got tired of cleaning the shavings out of it all the
Well, I
time.
guess that anyone who's raising cows, horses, and chickens is not lazy, but okay.
Okay. No, we do it. We just found it keeps them cleaner.
Okay.
They scratch around all the time, and it's always full of shavings after that. So yes, we just give them a food supply. They eat plenty of bugs in the summertime, but we have it here if they choose to have it. Plenty of water. They go through a lot of water.
Yeah,
so you've got
water, right, with chickens is they need tons. You cannot ever be out of water.
Now, what is the metal thing under your water?
Oh, right here. That we found out last year. It's just a heat plate. In upstate New York, the first 3 years we found out that the water freezes twice a day. So you set the water on this, and then it, You don't have to change it all the time.
That's a great tip because you just got your chicks in April, right? So you haven't been through a winter in upstate New York.
Good to know for the winter time.
So let's go talk about the eggs.
Okay.
Check her out. She is just beautiful. Wow.
Her name's Sadie. She's my daughter's pet.
She's gorgeous.
Yeah, she is gorgeous. You have more than 20 chickens and you have 6 boxes.
Yeah, you need about 1 laying box for every 5 chickens.
Okay,
so.
we've got 4 chickens for 1 box.
So that should be fine.
So you're in business. Okay, so straw again, just like on the floor, you have straw in here.
Yeah, just so they got a nice soft place to nest and makes them, feel comfortable.
Okay, and I have to say the eggs are just absolutely beautiful. They really are.
Oh yeah, no, they lay all different sorts. Every breed lays a different kind. So we got some green ones, we got some speckled ones. Yeah.
There you go.
Now, I've got one problem with my chickens. We've got a box, but they won't lay in it.
Well, they're not used to sitting in it yet. This winter time will fix that. When they're locked inside all winter, they'll have to go to the box to lay, and then by next spring, they're kind of creatures of habit. If they go to the box, they'll get used to it, and then you won't have any troubles after that. So.
Okay.
It sounds like you're going to have to become a little bit of a chicken whisperer, my friend. So, excellent. Okay, so you had mentioned that one of the main reasons that you had chickens was for the eggs. And the first time I saw a farm fresh egg cracked, I could not believe the difference in the color. So here's a store-bought one. Whoop. Okay. Now,
let me
Dan.
put one of these in.
So that is really amazing.
They're much darker. Ours are actually like a burnt orange color.
Oh,
They're
they are?
very
You
dark.
know what? Bring one to dinner tonight.
Okay.
I'd love to see that. So all those bugs and rocks and all those great nutrients that they're getting out there being free range shows up, and it shows up nutritionally in the egg as well. I always thought you needed a rooster to get eggs, but that's not the case. You don't have a rooster, right? So you really just need a rooster.
Yeah, rooster's just to fertilize the eggs. So if you don't plan on hatching the eggs, you don't need the rooster around unless you want them. It's just the kids enjoy looking at them and playing with them.
Okay.
So that's the only reason.
So my point is, though, if you live on a farm, you live on a farm. But if it's like some person who lives in the suburbs or the city and they want to have this great experience raising hens, they can do that without the noise of the rooster, right?
Yes, they can.
And
yes,
if you just don't want to raise chickens for whatever reason, you can also get eggs from people like you, the farmer down the road to
local
support
farm
your
markets
local store. So anyway, you guys, thanks so much. I'm sure you guys will continue a conversation about chickens later. You're going to take me where?
Up to see Mark.
Okay, so he's winterizing his garden.
Yep.
I will let you go back to your milking, and we'll see you at dinner tonight.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Coming up, photographer Mark Thompson has his sights set on being more self-sufficient by growing vegetables.
Settled by Scottish immigrants in 1799, Mumford is best known as the home of the Genesee Country Village and Museum, a 19th century village that is the largest living history museum in New York State and one of the largest in the nation. Here, people are proud of their rich past and are dedicated to keeping their community beautiful and thriving for generations to come.
Hey, Mark.
Hi, Dan.
How are you?
I'm very good, thanks.
Good. This is Fiona.
Hi, Fiona.
Hi,
Nice
Mark.
to meet you.
Nice meeting you as well. So you're going to show me how to winterize a garden?
Today is winterizing the garden.
Excellent.
Well, good. I'll see you guys at dinner.
All right, thanks so
Bye,
much.
Dan.
Bye. What a beautiful garden you have here.
Well, it's doing quite nicely still because we haven't had any frost.
Oh, all right.
So things are still growing. Some things have diminished. But what we're going to do today is we've got to prepare our garden for winter.
Okay, so
And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to start by charting it.
Okay.
And then we're going to think about disposing of the plants that may be diseased. And then finally we're going to put some mulch on it. And that'll get us really nicely into
what you're doing is putting the garden to bed to prepare for a good harvest next year.
That's correct.
Okay, so let's talk about the chart then.
Well, the chart is simply a layout of what we have in the garden right now. So we can refer to this next year, so when we do get into plant rotation, we can move things around. We know where things are.
Okay, and also I guess you identify
We're going to
the
identify
problem areas
where some plants have had some pests and diseases. Fiona, we're going to take a look at some plants that we're going to discard. These are tomato plants, and they were affected by a blight this year.
So many people on the East Coast were, right, because of the rain and the cold this summer.
Well, the rain and the wind, it's a wind-driven problem if you don't already have it, so it's coming from the neighbors. But we're going to take these plants, and we're going to take them right out.
So just so people know they have blight, right, by the brown lesions?
Sure. And also the dark spot here on the fruit itself.
it's pretty critical to dispose of this properly,
We want to
right?
get rid of all these plants and all the fruit that's on the ground.
Okay.
And we're going to do that by putting it into this black plastic bag.
And as you said, it's airborne, so what we need to do is kill the spores.
We're going to do
that.
that.
What we're doing?
Once we've got everything in the bag, we're going to seal the bag up and we're going to lay it out in the sun for a few days. And that's going to kill all the spores that are in there in the fungus.
And so you're not spreading it on to your neighbors. That's not a gift that they want.
That's what we're planning on doing.
And then we're not going to plant tomatoes here for a few years.
And that we're going to make a note of that on our here that
Great.
we had tomatoes here. Fiona, let's go over here and look at the Swiss chard.
Yeah, you had a beautiful crop this year, huh?
Well, it's a beautiful crop, but at this time of the year it's very bitter, so we
Right.
won't be harvesting any more of that. And we're going to just let the frost hit it, and then it's going to just lay down. It looks healthy, so it's going to just stay right here.
So since it's not diseased, it hasn't gone to flower, it's going to lay
Goes
down
on.
and form a blanket.
That's correct.
And then by spring,
Soil.
it'll be soiled.
Yep. Now, if you look over here at the lettuce, you can see that that's all gone to seed. So we're going to cut that off and put that in the compost pile because we don't want that seed to spread in the garden.
All right, so if it hasn't gone to seed, it stays, turns into soil. If it has gone into seed,
As long
compost.
as these leaves are healthy, we're going to leave that right here.
All right.
Fiona, let's go over and take a look at our onions that are ready to be
Oh, your
harvested.
peppers are still going strong.
They're going very
Enjoying
well.
Those?
We still are enjoying those, but let's look at this onion. It's ready for harvest.
How do you know that?
It's fallen over here. So we're going to take this, we're going to take it and pull it out. Go
Can I
ahead.
go ahead and do that?
Yep. Then we're going to set it aside after it's pulled out. I like to place it on a board, or we could even stick it into the fence. We're going to let it dry out until the skin becomes paper-like. And
So off the ground, dry out for a couple
dry
weeks.
it out. Then we can cut this off, get rid of the dirt, place it in a mesh basket or a mesh cloth, put it in a cool, dry place, and we'll store it until we're ready.
Enjoy it year round.
That's
then.
correct.
Great.
Look at these beautiful broccoli plants.
You know, it's my favorite
Oh,
vegetable.
these are a very healthy plant this year, and they're still growing strong. I've been cutting them and taking them into the house and eating
Do
them.
you freeze broccoli as well
You
for
can
the
freeze
winter?
it up, and we can have it.
So when the season for this plant finally ends, when the frost comes and it's not growing, it's not giving you vegetable
That's
anymore,
correct.
what do you do with it?
We're going to take it out. We're going to put it in our compost.
Okay, so you
area.
do pull out the entire
I
plant
prefer to pull it out.
to the compost.
After we're done with that, we're going to go over and we're going to start mulching the garden and put it to bed for the winter.
Critical step, right?
Yes, it sure
All right,
is.
let's go. So this is the all-important mulch, huh?
This is some chicken bedding that Dan brought up from the barn, and we're going to use that to lay down on our garden.
Okay, now it's terrific that you
This
have a
is
neighbor
terrific.
that
This
can
is
give you
filled
this.
with nitrogen. This is golden.
What if you don't have something like this?
There's
or
other natural items that we can use. We could use hay, straw, wood chips, pine needles, and we can also get into the synthetic products, which would be a black plastic, or it could even be the weed barrier type.
Okay, now how much are we talking here?
We're
that
going
I
to put
need
down 2 or 3 inches down here.
All right,
And that's
now
going to protect that soil, and it's going to blunt the rain, and it's going to keep the moisture in the ground, and it's also going to leach these nutrients back into the ground, and it's going to help our bacteria and fungus grow new soil for us.
now we always think about the winter, everything dies, but actually there's a lot of work
it's
being
still
done.
going on, and this mulch will help do that for us.
Well, the wind's really picking up, huh?
Yes, it is.
So Mark, you do all the work this time of year to ensure a good crop next season,
That's
right?
correct. So what we'll do is we'll finish this up later, but I want to take you down and show you some of my friends that are going to help me out in the
Oh,
springtime.
you do have people helping you out with the garden.
Bees, lots of them.
Ah, bees. All
Come
right,
on,
let's
go.
So this is Owaka Creek, right, that we're driving along right
It
now,
is.
right?
We're on the Owaka Trail right now, and it's a beautiful day, even though the weather's starting to get a little windy out.
I imagine this looks pretty, no matter what time of year it is. huh?
That's for sure.
Nice place. So between the vegetables and the eggs and the chickens and the beef cows, you guys must get a lot of satisfaction of being able to
I
provide
sure
for your
do.
family, huh?
I have more food than I can use, so I also provide for my neighbors and my friends.
All right, our next stop is Bob Boney. He's a scientist by day and a hobby beekeeper by night, and he's going to show us how honey gets from the hive to the table.
Oh, here's Bob's house right here.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Fiona. This is Bob up here working with his bees now. Hi, Bob.
Hello, Mark.
Bob, this is Fiona.
Nice to meet you,
How are
Fiona.
Mark, thank you so much. So we're going to see you at dinner later?
Absolutely.
All right,
See
great.
you then.
See you
Bye.
in a few hours. Thank you so much for having us out here today. I kind of feel like we couldn't have picked a worse day because it's really windy. Is that going to be a problem?
Well, I'm glad you're here today to help me because we've got a lot to do. And the wind is not going to be a problem for us. It'll actually keep the bees from flying around too much. So it's going to be okay.
All right, let's get started.
I'm with that. Let's do it.
So we're all suited up. So bees, I'm fascinated by them, so I can't wait to learn more about them. But as far as our ecosystem goes, what's their role?
Well, it's well known that bees, honeybees,
Okay.
are a primary pollinator for many of our crops. Now, they're not the only pollinator, but they're a primary and very important pollinator. Without them, it would become very difficult. It's problematic how we would get our crops pollinated. It's an area we don't want to have to face.
So if the number of bees decrease, then in essence our food supply would decrease.
That is correct. There's a part of our food supply that would no longer be being pollinated, and that would decrease.
All right, so Bob, you said we had a lot of work today, and what you're going to be showing me ultimately is what?
Ultimately, we're going to be harvesting the honey from this hive today. What we have here are the two lower boxes. These are the boxes inside of which the bees live. These boxes have a certain size. They're large enough so the bees sense they have enough room in there to grow to a colony of about 40,000 or 60,000 during the summer.
60,000 bees.
Could get as many as 60,000. They need to sense enough volume to do that. If it were smaller, they would reject this and go somewhere else.
Okay.
Now, that sets the lower limit on the size. The upper limit on the size is for us. If we make it too big, we can't lift it.
So what you're doing is taking the bees' needs and human needs and combining it in a way that works for both of us.
Finding a solution
right?
for both of us.
Okay.
These two boxes are where the bees actually live.
Okay.
Their living space consists of an inner sanctum, a core, kind of like the center of the earth, where the iron core of the earth is.
Right.
The inner core is the nursery. That's where the queen stays, and she lays her eggs in there, and the baby bees develop in that inner core. Outside that core is a layer of pollen. This is the food for baby bees. Then beyond that layer is all the honey. They store honey in the outer surface of their living space, their volume.
So what about this third box?
This third box is not living space for bees. This is storage space for bees. And they have a natural instinct to store that honey above their living space.
So they have honey down here in their living space, and then they store extra honey.
The extra honey goes up here.
Okay.
And so we take advantage of their natural instinct to store honey above their living space by putting a box up here. We put it up there, they go up in there, and they put more honey in there. The smoker, we're going to use this, and we're going to put a little bit of smoke inside this hive, and that tends to calm the bees down.
It does not harm them,
Absolutely not. Fiona, we're going to remove the cover from this hive
Okay.
in order to get this box off.
Should I stand back?
You're not going to have to. You'll probably be surprised, but there will be no bees inside this box here. And that's because I came down here and inserted this board. You see this board between these two boxes. It allows the bees that are in this super to move down back into the living space, but it does not allow them to move back up into the super. We're going to take the top off the hive, but first let's finish putting on our bee suits and flip our hoods down, just in case there are some bees inside there.
Okay. Should I take the rock?
Take the rock off.
All right.
This is the top cover. We'll remove that. Set this here. This is the inner cover. We'll remove that. Take a look here. This is the super with all the frames of honey, and you'll notice there are no bees in here.
All right.
We can take our hoods down.
Okay.
We're now going to remove one of the frames from this super that has the honey in it. We'll break it loose here with my hive tool.
Okay.
Lift it out slowly and carefully, very delicate. And what we have here, oh, look at this.
Wow, that is phenomenal.
They did a nice job. You can see some of the wax cells that have no honey, but most of the cells have been filled with honey, and you can feel that thin layer of wax that they covered it with. This was a lot of work for the bees. They made millions of trips out to flowers where they collected nectar. And nectar is where honey comes from. They take the nectar, they bring it into their bodies, and when the nectar is in their body, it combines with other chemicals in their body, and a little reaction takes place, and then they extrude out honey.
Honey.
It's a much thinner, watery honey. It's got a lot of water in it. and they put it into these cells.
Into these empty
cells. It's
and
very,
then they cap it?
Not right away. It's very watery, so they'll fan it with their wings to evaporate the moisture from it until it gets down to about 17% moisture content. Then that's the honey we recognize as a thicker, syruper mixture. So once it's at 17% humidity, then they put this wax covering over them.
To protect the honey.
To store and protect
It's really
it.
amazing. It's an amazing process.
These are all filled with honey. There's about 25 pounds of honey in this box and about 10 pounds of wax and wooden frame. So get a good grip over here on this side over here. There's a handle there.
Okay.
And let's lift up carefully. Ready? The two of us. There we go.
Okay. Yeah,
Very
that's
easy.
pretty heavy.
Oh, yeah.
There's a bee. Now, I know you said that they have honey in here in your living space, but I can't help feeling that we're taking their supply for the winter.
You're right. We have to be careful. Before I put this super on this hive, I made sure they had completely filled this with all the honey they're going to need for the winter.
Now, we caught up with Bob earlier on, and he showed us how to extract the honey from the frames, basically how the honey goes from the frames to the table.
With the super removed from the hive outdoors and brought indoors, what I need to do is scrape and rupture that thin layer of wax to allow the honey to flow out of the hexagonal comb. Every cap needs to be ruptured, otherwise the honey won't come out. Because honey is somewhat viscous, we're going to need to put this in a centrifuge and spin it to help separate the honey from the wax. This centrifuge spins these frames around, and that causes anything which isn't really strongly attached to the frames to separate from the frame. Next, you open the gate of the centrifuge that allows the honey that's been separated to flow out into a bucket. Then we securely close the lid. Then I check around the perimeter to make sure that that lid is sealed properly. Now it's watertight. I can take the bucket over to a water bath. The water in here has been heated to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. After 3 hours, we can come back, remove the lid, and lift the bucket out carefully. Next important step, we don't want to introduce water into the honey, so I need to carefully dry this bucket. I can open the lid, and what we're going to see is warm honey with all the wax floating to the surface. That's the next step in the process to separate the wax from the honey. I can then use the strainer to try and get that wax up and out and allow the honey to drain back through. Now that I have skimmed the wax off the surface of this bucket of honey, we're ready for the next step of the process to remove the remaining wax from this honey. To do that, we have a set of strainers, and they're very fine mesh, so we carefully pour this honey into the strainer. We have enough honey in this bucket, we can fill a jar. There it is, pure golden honey.
Bob, you exude passion when you talk about bees. How did you end up getting into it? How did you get interested in keeping bees?
I was looking for a new hobby that was relatively straightforward to get started with, but was complex and deep enough to hold my interest for the rest of my life. And beekeeping is exactly that. And also, my friends and family love the honey.
Oh, right.
Perfect combination, perfect combination.
You've gotten a lot more invitations for dinner since you started, right?
I've noticed,
And speaking of that, you're coming over for dinner later? You're meeting us up at the Sedlacek's?
Absolutely, I'm even going to bring you some honey.
You are great. See you later.
Bye-bye.
All right, now while we all go get showered up for dinner, we're going to leave you, like we do every week, the one place you have to see in this community, McPherson's Orchard.
From the moment the first apple ripens on the tree, McPherson Orchards is a must-stop on Owatka Trail. Winding down the creek, Owatka Trail moves into Leroy, New York, the birthplace of Jell-O, America's favorite dessert, and the home of the McPhersons. Emigrating from Scotland to western New York in 1801, the McPherson family built their homestead on this very site, where they planted a small orchard to provide food for their family throughout the year. In the 1930s, the McPhersons began selling apples to the public, and over the next decade, the orchard grew to commercial size, allowing them to crate their apples and ship them to New York City and beyond. In the late 50s, the McPhersons began offering apple cider, Today, David Frost, owner and sixth generation of McPherson's apple growers, presses cider at least once a week. Locals wait patiently by the barrels to fill gallon jugs of his crisp, sweet cider. While each new generation of McPherson's has the determination and desire to keep the family business going strong, they also bring new interests and talents. In fall of 2009, Marnie Clear, seventh generation of McPherson's apple orchard farmers, turned her passion for pie making into the Tree to Tin Bakery. We peeked into her kitchen while she prepared one of her favorite recipes. Anyone who has ever tried one of Marnie's apple pies now waits in line for her fresh, delicious baked goods to come out of the oven. How she'll keep up with local demand is a problem she's happy to have.
I hope you are inspired by the community spirit in Mumford, New York. Barnstorm your neighborhood and see what grows. Thanks for watching.
Learn more about sustainable living. Visit our website for great tips, recipes, and additional video at barnstormingamerica.com.